Okay? So it merged, it made it simpler. It made it simpler to understand. And in doing so, it consolidated some taxes because, when we had different taxing legislations, some were having overlapping sections, some were having inconsistencies and all of that. So this kind of like just put it all together and made it one single legislation that's really, really, really easy to understand. That's what the Nigeria Tax Act is, and we'll be talking about this today. The next slide, please. This one is the Nigeria Tax Administration Act. So the previous law I talked about tells you what is to be taxed. This law tells us how to tax it. So this one has to do with administration. This is more relevant for tax administration and professionals. It tells us how to go about it. So it kind of unifies provisions. Another problem the tax system had was that there were different laws in different states. So you could be doing business, perhaps you have a business in Ebonyi and Cross River State, and what you're experiencing in Ebonyi is different from what you're experiencing in Cross River, and it just seems like a lot to keep up with. So this has all been taken care of by this act. It unified everything: registration, assessment, collection, enforcement of taxes. All the processes are now unified across all the states. As a matter of fact, a lot of they put together a harmonized bill for all the states to pass, saying the exact same thing about taxation. I think as at count today, about, say, 12 to 14 states had passed their own laws saying the same thing. And I think Cross River State is on its way to passing its own. Okay. Next slide, please. I'm not going to talk much about this one because it doesn't bear much relevance to us here, but I will just say two things that is important for us to note. So this is the Joint Revenue Board. Before now, we used to have the Joint Tax Board, but this law now changed it to the Joint Revenue Board. That board is it's like a meeting point of the federal and all the states where they come together to solve problems and make policies that can take care of taxation all through the country. Now, one of the wins for taxpayers in this law is number 2, the establishment of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. Okay, the Tax Ombud. The Tax Ombud, yes. That office is this. If you have a complaint about taxation, you feel unfairly treated by a tax authority. When I say tax authority, I mean the IRS. Or you feel like you had a complaint, you complained and they didn't listen to you. You feel like a tax person is harassing you needlessly. Or you feel like they are penalizing you needlessly. You can write a petition to this office. It's completely neutral. And that office is going to investigate your complaints and make recommendations that can either even take that person out of office or anything. And this office is already running. I think as of last year, the Director General had been appointed already, so I'm sure this is the implementation phase. Those offices are being set up. I'm sure they'll have like an online portal or something where you can even just send in your complaints online. And then it resolves disputes between NRS and state IRS. It also strengthens the power of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. The Tax Appeal Tribunal is like a special court where if you have issues with how much you were assessed to tax, you could appeal to. So this law also strengthens their powers that they had before, now makes it stronger. Next slide. This is the Nigeria Revenue Service Act. It rebirthed the FIRS into what we now call the Nigeria Revenue Service. So we no longer have FIRS anymore. We only have the Nigeria Revenue Service that does the same thing, but it expanded its powers a bit. It collects federal corporate taxes, taxes from non-resident persons, and it has taken over revenue collection from about 63 federal MDAs. I'm sure all of us in business have always had this experience where you are doing business and then on a certain day, one MDA is in front of you asking for a certain task. The next day, another one is in front of you asking for a certain task, and like that, and like that, and like that. One of the goals of the tax reform was to take that out of the system and take all the taxing provisions of the law back to the tax authority, which is the State Internal Revenue Service, or the Nigeria Revenue Service, what we used to call the FIRS. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is now why we are here. In these tax laws, what are the key points to note? I want to ask a question. How many new taxes did these new tax laws introduce? 1 to 5, 5 to 10, Can anybody tell me how many new taxes we are going to pay now because of these new tax laws? 9. That's a new that we've not been paying before. Who said none? Please. Okay, sir, it's you now. All right. None is the answer. None. The tax laws does not introduce any new tax law, any new tax to pay. All it does is make sure that, you see, there's something we used to do as Nigerians, where we believe that if we stay in our own little corner, do our little business, the government doesn't know about us, and so we don't have to pay our taxes. Isn't it? Okay, that's what the tax laws has taken care of. The government now knows about you and shall collect what it is. That's all. That is all the tax reform does. It's making sure that everybody is visible for taxation if they are subject to taxes and they pay. It introduces absolutely no new tax into the system. So these are the key provisions we will look at. Like I said, the laws that are important to us as individuals, businesses, and companies is the first two, the NCA and the NCAA. The JRB establishment and the NRS is for tax professionals and administrators to look at. So the first thing we are going to look at is the tax ID. How many of us have a TIN? You've ever had a TIN? You registered for a TIN, federal TIN, state TIN. Have you ever gotten a TIN and you go and they say, no, it's not this TIN. Go and collect the other one. How many of you have ever experienced that? Yes. You went there. No, it's federal TIN. Where are they doing federal TIN? Oh, it's in IRS. It's not in IRS and all that. Okay, so all TINs have passed away and everything has become tax ID. So all the TINs have been abolished and you're going to have what we call the tax ID. Now, this is going to be relevant across board. Wherever you are, on the sea, on the land, in Benue State, in Lagos State, in Jigawa, if you are interacting with federal MDAs, state MDAs, local government, and native chief council, everywhere you are interacting, if you require a tax ID, this single ID is relevant. Now, it's important for us to pay attention to this because the law says in Section 4 of the NCA that every taxable person must register for and get a tax ID. When it says every taxable person, it means everybody, even if you are not supposed to pay tax. As far as you are a taxable person, which is you are 18 and above, that is you're an adult, you must register for and get a tax ID, even if you're not paying taxes. Your company is a taxable person, your business is a taxable person, so your company and your business must register and get a tax ID. Now, don't fret. For some of us that have registered 14, you say, we'll now have to go to IRS now and go and stand in line and do capturing. It's just as simple as the next slide. So if you want to get your tax ID, it's as simple as this slide. Just go to taxid.jrb.gov.ng. If you have your NIN available, you can do it in less than 1 minute. I would like about a couple of people to volunteer to do that right now. You can please interrupt me and say done when you get it out. Please. You've done. No, I want someone to do it here now. I would like somebody to please volunteer to do this. taxid.jrb.gov.ng. If you have your NIN available, all you need is your NIN and your name as it appears on your NIN. Just impute those two information on that and your tax ID. Please interrupt me and say done when you're done. Thank you. So that's how simple it is. Your TIN, no more TINs, it's now tax ID and it is across board. Once you have your tax ID, it's yours for life. Nothing changes it. If you go to another state, you use the same tax ID. All the tax ID has is your information and how much taxes you've been paying. That's all. That's all the tax ID has. Your information and how much taxes you've been paying. It's also important to do this because the law says that there are so many documents you have to write your tax ID on. You have to write your tax ID on financial transactions. You have to write your tax ID. They're asking the banks to require it of you, although they are not saying that they will block accounts, but everything you're going to do, you need a tax ID. As a matter of fact, there are big fines for companies if they contract with you if you don't have a tax ID. And we'll see that in the penalty section. Next slide, please. The second thing for us to pay attention to is returns. What are returns? Returns is just a statement which says, this is who I am, and this is how much I made last year. This is how much tax I paid. That's all. So the law says you have to file your tax returns. For some of us who are familiar with this, I think the old law said we had to file our tax returns before when? Before when? No? 31st of March. The old laws used to say individuals should file their tax returns before the 31st of March. And then employers were to file their payee tax returns, that's the pay-as-you-earn deduction returns, before the 31st of January of each year. That remains in the Act. You have to file your tax returns. Now, what is new in the law is that even if you're an employee, you work somewhere, your employer is deducting your tax and paying, it is still your responsibility to go and file your return. You will, in that return, you will say that, oh, I earned so and so as an employee of maybe University of Calabar. And then you will have to add any other additional thing you have done that may have given you income. Maybe you can say, well, I have a wig shop on Marian, and from there, I also made XYZ amount of money. So before now, as an employee, even if you don't file, whatever your employer is doing was covering you. But now, like I said, remember the first one I said, every taxable person, whether you're to pay or not, you have to register, get your tax ID, and you have to file your returns. Even as an employee, that is no longer your employer's, should I say, burden. It's now yours by Section 14 of the NTAA. Next slide, please. This one is interesting. What constitutes taxable income? What is the government going to tax? We're going to look at what the government is going to tax and what they won't. So this slide tells us what they tax. We all know that government taxes salaries, wages, fees, allowances, bonuses, compensations, royalties, interest, prizes. These new ones are added to the new law. Prizes, winnings, honorarial grants, awards, laurels, benefits in kind. And this one is for our brothers and sisters in the digital world, transaction in digital or virtual assets. So that means if you're a content creator, if you transact in digital assets such as cryptocurrency and the likes, now your income is now part of taxable income. This was not in the previous laws. This is one of the things. So actually, income is taxable. But because the laws did not, as at when they were made, there were nothing like digital assets. It wasn't included. And so those persons could maybe avoid taxes. But now this one has brought everybody in. Like I said, all the law did is not, it did not introduce any new tax. So it just says there is no hiding place anymore. Everybody must be in the tax net and everybody must pay what is due. So if you do the content creation, anything that you make money from digital, anything digital, or you trade in crypto and the rest, your income now is now taxable. And the beautiful thing is that it's taxable in the currency of the transaction. So you can pay your taxes in crypto, or you can pay it in dollars or euro or anything you transact in. Next slide, please. Okay, the law now says, it has always said, but why I put this in is because there are stronger penalties now if you don't do these things I'm saying. The books of accounts, small businesses have this thing where we don't keep records. So we go to a bar on Monday, buy goods of 500K, sell it for 750K. We go back and do that, and do that, and do that, and do that, and we don't even have any record of how many times we did that in a month or in 2 months and all that. So the law is saying, please, we don't want to be quarreling with you again to say, oh, you should have made this amount of money and all that and all that and all that. Keep proper books so that your proper books is going to determine how you are assessed and taxed. And there are big penalties. Please pay attention to the things I'm listing now, because there are big penalties if you don't do them. Okay, next slide, please. Self-assessment. This has always been in the law. How many of us know that it's actually your duty to assess yourself to tax? Did you know that? How many of us knew that? It's actually your duty. It has always been. That return you filed, you were supposed to have filed between January. That return sounds like big word. It's just, this is my name, this is where I live, this is how much I earned last year, and this is how much my tax is supposed to be. That's what a return is. When you are filing it, you're supposed to say, okay, so I earned about ₦1 million last year, and this is my tax obligation, and you pay it. It's your duty to do that. So this has been reiterated in the law that you can assess yourself to tax. It is if you don't that the tax authority can now assess you, or if you assess it, you assess yourself. If you under-assess yourself, and or the tax authority has information to believe that that assessment you did was not up to what it should have been, they can give you additional assessments. Next slide, please. Okay, this is one of the wins for taxpayers in the Act. Before now, if you were assessed, you have time. If the tax authority says, okay, come and pay 1 billion in taxes, you have the right to say, that's not true. I didn't make 1 billion naira. Why should I pay 1 billion naira? In a letter called an objection letter. Now, before now, you could probably send in that objection letter, and maybe because workload is much in the tax authority, you could stay there for like months, and they did not respond to you, and all that, and all that, and all that. But now, what the law says in section 41 is, if you write an objection, and the tax authority does not respond to you within 90 days, that your objection is final. They can't come and say, no, they are not listening to it. No, whatever you said in that objection is good. That is what constitutes your tax liability. I think that's a big win for taxpayers, isn't it? Yes, and it also puts the tax authorities on their toes to attend to you on time. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we are talking about assessment, the JRB, remember I said the Joint Revenue Board is the body that brings out policies that are general across the country on taxation. They released this calculator. You can. Nobody did the tax ID. You should have been done by now. Did you do it? Yes, you're done, right? Yes. So it's as simple as in less than a minute or two, you can do your tax ID. The people who started to do it when I spoke are done. They've gotten their tax ID. So now this personal income tax calculator is similar. If you have your income and you want to calculate it online, maybe the math is too much for you, you can just input it into that calculator and it calculates for you. It's that simple. So you see, like I said, one of the important hallmarks of the reform is that taxes need to now be more simple. They have to be simpler and easier to understand, and they have to be less. Okay? So next slide, please. Now, this is one of the controversials, one of the biggest controversies of the Tax Reform Act. Have we all seen all the things online that say, they are going to be debiting our accounts directly, so put narration into in your transfers. And people have been so consistent with it this particular year. Everybody is putting transaction. It's good, though. I didn't know that Nigerians could be consistent about something like this. So the fear of tax is this strong. Anyway, does transaction descriptions matter? The answer is yes and no. Yes, because perhaps it's good for you so that you know what you did with your money. No, because that's not how it works. This is the section that makes people say that. It says that the tax authority can assign a tax debt to a third party, in this instance now a bank or a debt recovery practitioner, who can assume responsibility for recovering that tax debt from you. So it means the IRS can say, Mr. Michael has been owing us 5 million naira tax. Your bank is Access Bank. We push the burden to Access Bank to collect it from you. But it cannot just do that. What it will have to follow is, they would have had to follow, their legal steps are so long that they would have had to follow. First of all, they would have had to assess, giving you an assessment for that amount of money. And then if you objected, they would have listened to that objection, walked through it with you. If you didn't object, they would have had to give you a demand notice. After that, they'll have to give you all the statutory notices in the law. After that, the money, it will not be 5,000 or 2,000 or even 1 million or that. It has to be big amount of money that is of significant value to the government. Not small money like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. No. It has to be significant amount of money. And it should have been outstanding for a very long time. And they would have told you that, you see this money you don't want to pay, if you don't pay it, we'll go and tell your bank to debit your account. So that is the long process that we'll have to follow before such a thing will happen. And I don't think that is new in our legal system. I'm sure for some of us as lawyers, we are familiar with garnishee proceedings, where if there is a judgment debt against you and you refuse to pay, the court simply tells your bank, this person doesn't want to pay his debt, and the bank debits you and gives to your creditor. That's all. It's a similar situation. So there's nothing at all in the tax law that says a tax authority can just go to your bank account and just see, 5 million naira debit, 2 million naira debit. No. That's not even possible. So this is the section of the law that brought about that, should I say, controversy, and this is what it means. It doesn't mean that nobody can go into your bank account and debit even 1 naira without a proper law or something that gives them the authority to do that. Next slide, please. Okay, here is the reason why I said, please pay attention to all I've been saying that you need to do, because the penalties are big. Like for some of us that have not yet registered for this tax ID, since you've not registered, once you reach February now, that is after the first month you refuse to register, your penalty is 50K. Your penalty is 50K. And it doesn't stop there. By March, they're at 25K. By April, they might add how much? It's 25K for each subsequent month. So continue adding it now. Another 25K. So if by December, you now say, I need tax clearance for something, they will calculate 50K from the first month, 25, until that day that you did the tax ID. Then you will not pay it. That's your penalty. So the reason why this is this way is that the tax authority is not even really interested in you paying these penalties. Why the penalties are strong is that they want you to register. They want to have a proper record of who are taxable people in Nigeria, even if you're not paying a tax. Even when it comes to returns, this is the penalty for not filing your returns. So if you don't file your returns at all, or you file returns and you not say the truth, 100K for the first month. After that, can somebody answer? 50K. So do the math now. If you don't went and filed, though, but you say, let me not file the correct thing, they will start calculating it like that for you. If a company knows that you don't have a tax ID and they decide to give you contract, that company will pay 5 million naira fine. So if you have a company and you want to give contract to somebody, the person should show you tax ID or else, 5 million. So I'm just saying that the reason why the penalties are strong is not that they want to collect these penalties, no. It's the fact that they want compliance. They want us to register. They want to have proper record and data of what we are doing and what we as Nigerians are doing. Next slide, please. If you don't keep those books that I told you about, your penalty, at least this one is small now, 10,000. So, and 50,000 for companies. Okay, so you can decide not to keep now and pay your 10,000 straight. Is it better? I don't think it is. So, these are all just penalties. I don't want to go through them. I just want you to know that there are big penalties for not doing all these things I said. Next slide, please. So now, this is another good win for the Tax Reform Act. And this is one of the reasons why I find it funny that a church was praying against it, because it's really a good thing. It doesn't introduce any new tax. It just says that we should all be ready to pay our taxes. The first one is people who are earning the minimum wage or less are not going to pay any taxes. People who pay whose personal income is 800,000 or less per annum will not pay any income. But you will register and file return. It's just that you will file that your return is 800,000 or whatever amount that is less, then the tax there will be nil. That's all. Agricultural companies and businesses, if you start a company for agricultural purposes, planting, producing cash crops, stuff like that, you're tax-free for the first 5 years. No tax, there's no company income tax on you. Income of military personnel are now tax-free. They are no longer taxed. VAT on essential food items, medicals, and a lot of other things are no longer taxed. Small companies small companies to a certain threshold are no longer required to deduct VAT. Next slide. Small companies are exempted from CIT. Now, small companies have been defined by the Act as companies that have a turnover of 50 million and above and below, and have a fixed asset base of less than 250 million. So your turnover is 50 million and your fixed asset base is less than 250 million. However, I have to let us know that the exemption is companies providing professional services. So if, for instance, you provide accounting services or maybe legal services, this section, sorry, it doesn't apply to you. Sorry. Capital gains tax exemptions on sale of your personal homes, personal chattel, private vehicles, and stuff. This was not there before in the Act. Stamp duty exemptions on intrabank transfers, salary payments, transfers below 10,000 and the likes. So my time is up and I don't want to take much of your time, but I feel like there are lots, we can't go through 203 sections of a law in like a day like this. But I feel like these are the first key things for you to pay attention to. And in the next session, you will learn the practical ways of how that affects you. Next slide. So in conclusion, like I said, the purpose of the tax reform is to make it simpler, make it easier, and make it better to understand. The only thing is that in doing that, nobody is going to be hiding anymore. I didn't want to bring Matthew 2:22, where Jesus said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. But I feel like in Jesus' time, that particular tax system was very, very oppressive. And if Jesus could enjoin us to do that, then he wants us as believers to have integrity, to give to the tax system what is ours. What we need to do for ourselves is to have a good understanding of what it is, so that we know that we are paying only what is fair and only what is just, and nothing more. Thank you very much for listening.
We can do better. For someone that said she would rather prefer to be at home, to have done this, please, let's celebrate her. Thank you very much. If you know you are in this event and you are yet to register, please, the people at the registration desks are there. Do put down your name and your details. Okay, I'm very sure that we listened attentively to what Mrs. Jennifer Nora presented. And she's gone through a lot of, she's given us lots of information within the shortest time possible. So it means that we also must do due diligence to go back, study more, read more. At least we've heard it. We are no longer ignorant of what the tax reforms or the new tax laws contain. I'm very sure also when she was making her presentation, she mentioned something about, because you've attended this event, your prayer point should change. Tell someone, your prayer point has to change. She was mentioning money in million. Okay? So, tell someone, your prayer point has to change this year. We've heard quite a lot that obviously no new tax has been introduced. When she said, all things are passed away, for us, the spiritual people will say, all things have become. But she said, all things, all IDs are now tax IDs. And what you should do, because I know that the agitation that most people have is because of the penalties. What this is doing for us is that we will become more responsible. And like you know, in this church, as a life development church, we always preach accountability. So I'm very sure that it is time for us to become more accountable. Crypto netizens, una there? Don't we have crypto netizens here? So the government says that now your crypto is taxable. All we can do is to continue to keep proper records. And I'm very sure at the end of the year when you are supposed to file your taxes, you will not have any problem. For being very obedient citizens of Nigeria, please give yourself a round of applause. At this juncture, please, I just want to take a few recognitions before we move over to the next item in our order of events. And I will quickly want to recognize with us a man who has been highly benevolent and wants the people who follow him to become even greater than he is. The initiator of this great project and initiative for life, business, and career. Please celebrate with me my father, your father, our spiritual father, our mentor, Pastor Tony Aleogena Raphael. Please, we can do better. Daddy will celebrate you. Also, we recognize in our presence Pastor Goodluck Opere, a professional relationship coach. We also celebrate Pastor Umar Upai, an educationist and a professional certification trainer. Also celebrate with me Pastor Anyekan Umar, a professional trainer in personal and human development. Celebrate with me too Pastor Emmanuel Obeten, an astute agro-businessman. Also celebrate with me Pastor Richard Atom, a professional digital expert. He's the one making all of this possible. Also, we have distinguished personalities in our midst this great morning. And we have with us the DG MEDA. Welcome with me, Mr. Great Oban. You're very welcome, sir. Also, welcome with me, Mr. David Atom. He is the immediate past president of the Calabar Chambers of Commerce. Please, a round of applause. Right about now, we are moving over to the next item in the order of our event, which will be calling on the next presenter to do justice to another wonderful, insightful topic for the day. I will crave the indulgence of the media to please throw up the profile of Mr. Panke Ando. So, we have here with us Mr. Panke Ando Oga, ACTICNACRM. He is a public financial management consultant and a tax administration expert. Mr. Panke is an accomplished consultant for the Nigerian Governors Forum and the African Professionalization Initiative. He is a specialist in tax administration and diagnostics audit tool, TADAT. He is also a specialist in public expenditure and financial accountability, PEFA, and the Sustainable Development Goal taxation frameworks. He's engaged with the Nigerian Public Finance Facility, NPFF, and also has partnership, and also with the Partnership for Agile Governance and Climate Engagement. As part of his expertise and professional affiliations, he has core competencies to include, but not limited to this: domestic resource mobilization, risk management and diagnostics audits, market systems and value chain development, taxation and fiscal policy. He's also has professional memberships in Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, Chartered Risk Management Institute, and also the vice president, has been the vice president, finance, CalCIMA, meaning Calabar, Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mine, and Agriculture. He's also a member committee of Economic Research and Statistics, NACIMA. If we look at his trajectory over the years, he served in different capacities, ranging from the public sector to the private sector, and also has global reach. To include, in the public sector, he served as the chairman CRIRS from 2018 to 2023, and is also a pioneer board director in the Cross River State Microfinance Bank since 2017. Currently, he is serving in the audit committee. In the private sector, he has also served and has been in different positions ranging from middle to senior management in Zenith Bank PLC and the United Bank for Africa PLC, driving financial performance and strategic initiatives. Global reach, he's worked with organizations like Tetra Tech, PES, and Adam Smith International. His executive leadership and policy impacts include, but not limited to this. If we look at it in the various phases, banking and finance, leadership roles at Zenith Bank and UBA PLC, expertise in structured trade and corporate finance. In the phase 2, his revenue governance as the executive chairman of the Cross River Internal Revenue Service and the pioneer director of Cross River Microfinance Bank. Please, I think for all of this portfolio, it deserves a round of applause. Thank you. Okay, in the phase 3, looking at him, National Policy Joint Tax Board Technical Committee. From 2020 to 2023, he's been the reviewer of national tax reform bills for the Presidential Committee. As part of the vision that drives this great personality, he is deeply passionate about fiscal transparency, macro-fiscal policy, and sustainable economic development. He holds his degree from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, BSc in accountancy, and has numerous other postgraduate diplomas to include financial management, accounting and finance, taxation and fiscal policy. He is a sought-after speaker on taxation. He is a live learner. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Mr. Akpanke Oga, a professional public finance management and taxation administration expert. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, MC. Good morning. Is it morning? Okay, 11:23. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Okay, first, let me thank the organizers of this forum. I thank my good friend and brother, Leo, for bringing me here, for inviting me. Thank you very much, my brother. I'm very happy to see my Oga, Pastor Tony. It's been a long time. Well done, sir. It's my first time in your church. You believe it. Tony has been somebody I've known for close to 20 years. He's a business leader and a pastor and an extraordinary person. And you're very privileged to have him here as your pastor. Please encourage him. Okay, I'm glad to see my good friend Danny, my in-law David, my good friend, right, and everybody else. And I call her Lordship Designate, my former colleague. You see the way she talks? Gently, very informed, and very authoritative. So I prophesy that she will be a judge. Amen. So I call her Lordship Designate. Whenever I see her. I'm very happy to be everybody. Thank you very much. Let me commend the church once again for this fantastic event. The last speaker, when scriptural, referred to the Apostle of St. Matthew, where paying of taxes. Christ said, give to Caesar's what is Caesar's. In the letter of St. Paul to Timothy, one of the letters, he says, it talks about praying for leaders, praying for the church, praying for leaders that all will be okay. So if God has given the state, given our leaders powers over us to tax us, to collect something in return for what we are getting from the state, Christ supports it. Says, give Caesar. If Caesar is protecting the Jewish people, those were very hard times. Yes, they were your oppressors, but they gave you some level of security, and there was some level of civilization which they lived under. And Christ said, pay taxes, give to Caesar what is due to Caesar. So, St. Paul, in his letter to St. Timothy, tells us, encourages us to do the right thing. He also says something, I quote, he called us with a holy calling, not in virtue of our work, but in virtue of his own purpose. Our Christian faith teaches us that our state in life, God has placed us there. Whether you're a civil servant, you're an entrepreneur, you are a tax consultant, you are a pastor, you are a doctor, you're an engineer. You went to school, that is your profession, your vocation. That is your calling. That's where God has kept you, whether you're doing ICT, whatever. So, in that vocation, which you have trained for, which God has placed you, by carrying out our duties, meritoriously, doing them diligently, doing them properly, doing our very best in everything we do, we are playing that our part in God's plan of salvation. We're sanctifying ourselves. We are making ourselves holy, and we are giving glory to God by carrying out those duties. So it behoves on us that if you're a professional banker, you're a businessman, you must excel. So you must build yourself. You must build your knowledge. Because if you want to be a good tax consultant and you do not know about the tax reforms, or if you want to be a good tax administrator like Jennifer, you must know about these tax reforms. So it behoves of us as Christians to build our skills, our knowledge, to be better entrepreneurs, to be better, whatever our vocation is. So I want to encourage and thank the church for organizing this, because by learning about this tax, it will help us to be better people. We know our rights, our responsibilities, and so we know what the state expects from us, what we owe the state. So once again, Leal and the people who organize this, well done. Please encourage a round of applause. Encourage yourselves. Okay, so I'll run very quickly through this. She has spoken extensively about the tax reforms generally. My work is to talk to us about personal income tax implications, understanding your tax liability. The focus is on personal income taxes, because I see a lot of young people here, and we may not need to go into big corporate income tax matters. So we'll keep it as simple as possible. Okay, this is the purpose. We're going to help us to understand the tax laws, remove fear and confusion, equip us with practical knowledge. The learning outcomes are there. Okay, we'll do it a few practical lessons so that it will make sense. We have talked, so we'll go practical. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Before I start, let me share a small story. We're in 2026. 13 years ago, I was at an event at Rotary Club of Calabar, War Peace Day, and we're talking about peace, how, human beings could work together to ensure that there's peace, less conflict, war. And I was in the company of a very senior military officer, retired, and an associate professor of law. So my friend, the professor of law, talking with the soldier, he said he wanted to write a book on asymmetric warfare. Do we have an idea of what asymmetric warfare is? Okay, maybe we can go a little later. There's conventional warfare. You bring your gun, I bring my gun, we shoot, kill each other. Asymmetric warfare, when you hear of Boko Haram, terrorism, people who carry a bomb appear, it's not conventional, it's asymmetric. So my friend said he wants to write a book. So the military officer asked, is there any particular reason you want to write about asymmetric warfare? My friend is a professor of law. His expertise is in licensing and trademarks, patent. He's an expert in intellectual property. So, asymmetric warfare. And the soldier happened to know a bit about quite a lot about asymmetric warfare. So he was curious. Why this interest? You want to write a book? Let me narrow it down to the tax reforms. So much, she said it, there's so much grammar, misinformation. In fact, I learned a new word when Tayo Dele reacted to the KPMG, mischaracterization. I've never heard that word. I learned a new word. There are content creators who are now tax experts. They are, in fact, even before the tax laws were signed in June 20, before the laws even came out and were signed, June 2025, I think 26th of June also, people have started writing books on tax reforms. A very good friend of mine, his wife wrote a book, he sent it to me. I said, is she a tax expert? So there's so much misinterpretation, confusion, mischaracterization. It's like asymmetric warfare. But, we're attempting to unravel this, and let people actually know this is not what the laws are saying, and this is what the laws are saying. So we're properly guided, because they say knowledge is power. Okay. We know about taxes. I don't need to. Jennifer narrowed down fantastically about tax being a compulsory payment. I'm quoting from the National Tax Policy here and the National Tax Act. These are the definitions of tax. It's important to differentiate. We always say taxes, levies, fines, fees, royalties, tolls. There are a lot of items around revenue. But a tax has distinct meanings and distinct definitions. She's spoken extensively on that, so I'll move on. These are some of distinctive qualities. Compulsory, payment to government. Government, not non-state actors. If you are driving to somewhere, in one area, and the road is blocked, and then you have to go through one road, and then the youths in the community have now put a roadblock. That is a toll. It's not a tax. And you are paying to non-state actors. You're not paying to government. So by intents and purposes, that is not a tax. Entrepreneurs, young people who are trying to do businesses, it's important that you understand this. Common benefits, have a known formula, have a distinctive beneficiary. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so my work is talk about personal income taxes. Now, what is a personal income tax? A personal income tax is a tax, and we just spoke to what a tax is, right? We just defined taxes imposed on gain or profit from business, profession. I'm happy we have a tax practitioner here, somebody who is in active tax practice. My good friend and brother Danny. Trade, business, profession, vocation, or salary, wage, fee, allowance, or other gain or profit from employment, other gain or profit from employment of individuals. So, for purposes of our discussion, we're going to talk about those in paid employment, number one, and those in self-employment. What the government taxes you is your personal income tax. What they tax on your salary, if you're a businessman, even if you're in paid employment, you have a side hustle. You are making profit, there's a gain or whatever. It is income, and it is taxable under the law. So if you're in paid employment, but you're also doing your side hustle, we'll tax you here and tax you there. or your personal income taxes. Now, government taxes, okay, let's go on. We'll come to the concept of a tax base. Next slide, please. Okay. We have said so much. We even quoted Christ and what he says about our responsibilities to pay to Caesar what is due to Caesar. So, what are our responsibilities as taxpayers? A taxpayer being defined as a person, group, or an entity that pays or is liable to tax. That pays or is liable. You may not be paying, but you are liable. You may be owing somebody money, you're not paying the person money, but you're owing him. There's a liability. So what are our duties and responsibilities? I'm going to narrow down into these 4 categories so that to make it easy. The first is registration. Jennifer said a lot about taxpayer ID. That is one of the areas of asymmetric warfare. We used to have what we called a taxpayer identification number for many years. You go to the IRS or FIRS, they issue you a number, a unique number, just like when you go to university, you have admission, right? What do they give you? Or matric number, right? Or as the case may be. If you join a professional association, you get a number, right? Yeah, ICANN, ANAN, CITN, you have a number. That is a unique identifier. For many years, there was plenty of confusion over this issue of taxpayer identification. Why? One of the reasons was proliferation of databases. Federal Road Safety Commission does what? Road safety issues, driver's licenses, Abi? So you go there, they take your biometrics, right? Who knows how many drivers, registered drivers there in Nigeria? I think about 20 million or so. So there's a huge database there. Who knows the government agency responsible for civic registration? Who can tell us? NIMC, fantastic. Nigerian Identity Management Company. You're born, you go to get your name, right? You're supposed to register when you're born. They register you. When you die, they deregister you. So there's an entity called NIMC. Good old INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, is on its own. When you want to register as a voter, you register, Abi. Which other one do we have? BVN, Nigerian Interbank Settlement System. 2014 or 15, the banks came together and said, look, we need to have a database to capture people who have bank accounts. So they came up with this BVN, another structure. Who can tell us another one? Are there any other ones? Those who want to jackpot. Nigerian Immigration Service. They have their own databases. In fact, at a point, if you wanted to go and do a passport, you had to come and get your NIN, I think, and then you get a tax. So much information. For many years, when we worked on the Joint Tax Board, right from when FECO, Mego, Fala were there, there's been this challenge of how do you integrate databases? Because we go abroad and we shout and come back. I said, Nigeria, why do I have this one card, 2, 3, election 1, 4, international passport 5. Why not have one database? And that database is accessible. And then you use that unique ID. If you have one unique ID, you are yourself, you are there. Everybody knows you. You use that. So all this wahala with this new law has been solved by tax ID. So we're not going to hear too much about TIN. And they said, if you have a TIN already, your TIN, there's integration now, all the states with NIMC, everybody finally. So that your TIN can serve as your tax ID. Information is being pooled. So you don't need to go and register. Those days, imagine if you're working in Lagos. You go to Lagos IRS. If you're working there, you're a resident there, you want to pay taxes there, you go and register in Lagos IRS. Then you go to Sokoto. Maybe you're working there, you go and register there. You go to Benway. Imagine the number of taxpayers that you have. Now they said one ID. Every tax authority in Nigeria, 37 plus the FIRS, that's 38, recognizes that ID. So, your first duty and responsibility as a taxpayer is to register. You go to the State Inland Revenue Service, or if you're a limited liability company, you go to the FIRS, but you must register as a taxpayer. That's your duty and responsibility. The second one, she spoke extensively about it. Filing of returns and declaration of income. Give to Caesar's what is Caesar's. Before the end of this month, if you are in paid employment, your employer will file what we call a Form H. H1, yes. We'll show you, we're going to do practical examples, so I'm going to run very fast. It will show the names of all the employees, their designations, what they earn, etc., and what they remitted last year. Now, if you are in business, you're a private person, you will file your individual tax returns assessment. She spoke extensively to that. So the fourth responsibility is to check to make sure that 1, 2, 3 were properly done. Okay, let's move. All right. Registration. This is the first. We talked about the taxpayer identification. Now, your registration will depend on the type of business entity you are running. For example, a lot of us, we're not going to talk about companies here because those are corporate. We're talking of personal income taxes. But most of us trade in individual names or as sole proprietorships, right? Business names. Okay. For tax purposes, your business name, if you are trading as JTE Enterprises, right? Sole prop. For tax purposes, what she will pay, her personal income taxes. And for tax purposes, the personal income taxes she pays as Jennifer is what will be used for the purposes of the enterprise. It's not a separate entity per se. For example, if you have a limited liability company, let's say Jennifer Etu Limited, it is a living thing, it's a living organism by law. Separate and distinct from her. But if you have a sole prop does not have, under the law, that kind of status or entity. So for your taxes, it is your individual taxes. What she pays as Jennifer Etu, if she's doing JT Enterprises, that's what she's going to use. So it's important for you to understand this because it helps you. All right. Now, there's a lot of automation that has been going on now over the world, nationally, especially with the new reforms. It has created a lot of, initiatives which are backed by the law. So most revenue services, they offer you what we call a single customer account, SCA. That means it's like a bank account. You can log in, you see your details, your address, you see your tax remittances, etc. This is all part of registration. You can register online too. If you check out that URL, I think it works. I think that works. So if you want to register after this event, you decide to now give to what is due to Caesar. Simply go there, you register online, or Jennifer is here, she can guide you. Then you can even assess yourself online and pay your taxes before the end of March this year for individuals. Then there are new laws on registration. So this is registration. Let's go to the next. Now, there are some interesting, we'll do this 2 minutes. There are some interesting provisions under the new law. Everybody must. Section 7 in green. The tax authority now has the power. If you are supposed to register, if you are liable and you do not, the tax authority can register you. This wasn't in law before. and include you and start assessing you. In green, that area that you see there. Filing, she noted your ID must be submitted on return notices correspondence. Business people, thank God DG is here. If you go to MEDA, DG wants to give you a contract, a supply. Red, I put that in red. A condition for entering into a contract with either federal, state, ministry, department, or agency, you must have a tax ID. So if you go to him and you don't have tax ID, and he tells you, sorry, I cannot give you because you're dodging taxes, because he's compliant. That's what the law says. And if you check the withholding tax regulations, it affirms it. So for young people, people doing business, just get a tax ID. Taxes on your income. You may not even make any income and you don't pay any tax, but you must have a tax ID, because if tomorrow now he comes, and this doesn't take, it's not just for federal ministries, even big private concerns by law. And Daniel, I'm right. You must have a tax ID. The company cannot give you a contract, a supply, service provider, anything, if you don't have a tax ID. That's what the law is saying now. So let's get our tax IDs. Okay. A person engaged in banking, okay, let's move on. That's for banks. Change of particular, suspension, cancellation. Let's go on. There's a lot of grammar here. But you cannot have more than one tax ID. It was a common trick taxpayers will pay. I've been paying taxes here in Calabar, and I was paying 100K a year, and then I don't want to pay, so I jump on a bus to Uyo. I go there and claim I live in Calabar, I just transfer, this, that. I'm a good Nigerian, I want to be paying taxes. They don't know you, they don't know your history. They tax you under presumptive regime. I say, okay, pay 50,000. So you've been paying 100K here. You now go somewhere else, deceive them, and now with these new systems, with the kind of technology, you can't go there and create, because you take your biometrics, linkages between all the databases and all the revenue authorities. So multiple registration, all that, no more. Okay, these are some of the forms when you want to file. Cross River, that's the form. But if you go online, I think you can file online now, but that's what it looks like. Okay, let's go on. Okay, now she said something. Under the previous law, if you were an employee, let's say you work for Jennifer Etu Limited, multinational, she files, before end of this month, she files a Form H. You did not need to file. Now, what the law is saying is that everybody must file. So, if you were earning, if my friend here works for her, she files, he's covered. He must file also, because he may be having other income from his side hustle. So typically, he would declare that, I earned 100K a year. My employer deducts pay. Meanwhile, he's earning 500K from his side hustle. But he said, no, I work, I pay tax. So what the law is saying now, he must file. So he's going to file twice. He must file again as an individual. Then she's filing as his employee. Then if he has additional income, he would declare it. If there's none, he would say, no, let me just put I've already filed my employment income. Nigerian law says you must pay taxes on your global income. It used to be section 32 of the former act, 52, I think, but has changed. So this means if you have shares in California, you have land and you're earning rent, and you're here in Nigeria, you're a Nigerian. As far as you're a Nigerian, carrying a green passport, Abi, you must pay, whether the income is derived here or not, on your global income. If you have a house in England and you rent it out, you must file and pay taxes. However, if you are paying taxes in England, and there's what we call a double taxation treaty, we'll take cognizance of what you paid in England, you declare here, will net off so you don't pay twice. That's the rule. It's important to note that. But the important thing we need to know is that our global income as Nigerians is taxable. The Americans call theirs, is what name? Citizenship-based income. If you're an American citizen, you know, those days now, before Trump came, everybody, if you have money, send your wife to America, let her go and stay and have a child, right? So the child is a U.S. citizen, have you? Some of us here are U.S. citizens, though. You are liable for taxes there. If you don't know it now. They call their citizen-based income. In fact, there was something funny that happened. The Pope, the new Pope, is an American citizen. So people were saying, yeah, you've lived in South America. Is he paying taxes in America? Because he's an American citizen, citizen-based taxation. You must pay taxes if you're an American citizen. So if you're in Nigeria, you must pay. That's what our law says. So filing, you're going to file employer, employee, new rules. Okay. Every taxable person, whether or not liable, must file. Now, in 2000, the government passed a law exempting people earning minimum wage from paying personal income taxes. Minimum wage, because of COVID and the rest, minimum wage then was 30,000. So the personal income tax then, which is now the NTA, she talked about, said that if you were earning minimum wage, 30,000 and below, don't pay tax. And you did not have to file. That law, minimum wage is now 70,000. So up to 31st of last month, I think, if you were earning 70,000, I think it's monthly per month, you were not to pay taxes, but now the new laws have come. And it said you did not need to file. There are two things, filing and payment. It said if you were below that threshold, what this new law is saying is whether or not you are earning, let me recap, whether or not, even if you are not to pay taxes, even if you are exempted, you must file. That's what the law says. Filing simply means every year, just put the reports, say, this. I'm earning 600,000. We'll look at it. Under 800,000, you're not going to pay, right? Simple. When she calculates her employer's schedule, she won't deduct any more from you guys. She will file for you before end of this month and say, these people are not liable to pay taxes. Okay. Pay as you earn. Benefits in kind. This is a very, very controversial area, but I want to just put in, especially for those of us in paid employment. You disclose that, and it's telling us that this is taxable. But there are certain exceptions which we'll come to. All right, let's go on. Okay, self-assessment. Let's go on. She's spoken to self-assessment. Okay, let's go on, please. Okay, so point number 3, payment of taxes. We've talked about registration, which is everybody's responsibility, number 1. Number 2, filing by law. Every year, individuals before end of March and employers before the end of this month. Now, the next one is payment. You have registered, you have filed, or if you're a returning taxpayer, you have filed, you say, okay, this is how much I pay. All right. When you pay, you get your tax clearance certificate. Now, there's always controversy. What taxes do I pay? What am I liable for? So, the government has the powers to tax. And there are different tax bases, which simply means the range of transactions or activities that the government can tax. So you, as a taxpayer, your concern will always be what is being taxed. I was talking with a friend at that jackpot yesterday. She was complaining that she went to a shop with her kids to buy a flask. You know, she has small kids. You know, school flasks that you buy for your kids. You know, to put water when they are going to school, and that she had to pay VAT on it. Now, in Nigeria, certain products are exempted from VAT, value added tax. VAT is a consumption tax. It's a tax on what you consume. Educational materials, health materials, for instance, are exempted. So, water, you may be drinking water. There, the people pay taxes, VAT, on water. But here, we say, no, it's food. So, it is exempt from taxes. So, the government taxes different things. You may go to a hotel or fast food. By law, the government is supposed to charge you 5% ad valorem tax called tourism development levy on that meat pie or the coke in Cross River State. In Lagos, they call it consumption tax, Kaduna consumption. But some states, they may not tax you. So the questions we always ask as entrepreneurs is that, what am I supposed to pay? Right? Okay. So that's what we mean by tax basis. And then, who do I pay to? For an individual, like we agreed, what the state government, Cross River State, will tax you. We're talking about personal income taxes, profession, vocation. You pay to the Cross River. If you're a resident in Cross River State, you pay to the Cross River State Internal Revenue Service. If you are resident doesn't mean that you live here. You may be itinerant. Let's say your family, let's say you're just walking here. Your family is in Lagos or elsewhere, and you travel around a lot. There are rules that determine residency. So, depending on those rules, it's important we know these things because they could come up. Let me give you an example. For those of you in paid employment, assuming you work in offshore, let's say your company has a guest house in Eket. Then you go there, they put you on a helicopter, you go offshore, right? You go and walk. A lot of us do it. A lot of people here in Calabar, their families are here. They go offshore, they work 2 weeks, come back, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, and go back. And let's say the company there is deducting your taxes and paying to Akwa Ibom state government. Are you resident in Akwa Ibom? So, you could protest. Your employer could be making a mistake by paying to Akwa Ibom. And you can take it up and say, I am ordinary resident for tax purposes in Cross River State. So, it is the duty of your employer to make sure your taxes are paid to Cross River or Edo or wherever it is. So, the concept of relevant tax authority. Who do you pay your taxes to? It's very, very important. Then, tax clearance certificates. When you pay, you're issued a TCC. That is evidence that you have paid. And it's very, very important. We encourage everybody, before the end of March, file your tax returns. The authority will look at it. If it's okay, you raise an assessment, and you pay, and you issue the tax clearance certificate. One, it gives you power by holding a TCC, that you have satisfied your civic duty by paying your taxes. So the state, under Section 2 of the Constitution, provides, or is supposed to provide, infrastructure, good health, security, etc., etc. And in return for that, you pay your taxes under Section 24F or so of the Constitution. So when you pay, you get that tax clearance certificate. That is your power to demand accountability, demand responsibility for the state. Oh, sweet prince, I want good roads. I pay my taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, you don't have the right. Don't even talk, but you've paid your taxes. So the tax clearance certificate is evidence that you have paid your taxes. So there's a lot of use of technology now. You can pay online, file, use POS, and the rest to pay your taxes. Okay, so let's go on. The next, okay. These are excerpts of the new law, just a few places. Now, let me talk a bit about withholding taxes. Let's say you do jobs. Most of you are entrepreneurs, you're young people, eh? Let's say Union Bank is next door. Okay, let's get a good example. let's say you run ICT repairs. Union Bank says, please, we need 2 or 3 new computers. Brand new desktops. Let's say desktops. How much is a desktop now? Any idea? A brand new one. Dell. Does anybody know? Or HP or... No. A desktop, complete set. No. It's about $1 million now, abi? It's about $5 million. $5 million now. Okay, so let's say it's 1 million naira and you supply 3 desktops to Union Bank. Now, Union Bank is supposed to deduct withholding taxes. It's like an advance payment. Out of that 3 million, they deduct, I think, 5%, individual 5%. They will deduct it. You will give them your taxpayer ID, which is why we say you must have a taxpayer ID, because if you go there, they cannot even issue you that small contract, side hustle job if you don't have a tax ID. They will deduct 5% of the 3 million, which is about 150, abi? Remit it to the tax authority. You will get a credit note. That's to say you have paid in advance part of your personal income taxes. Then when you are filing, you will just attach it to your filing next year. And says, Cross River, I have paid 150,000 from a contract. It has been paid for me. Union Bank is not the taxpayer. They are remitting on your behalf. So, as young people, it's important you know this, because you might have somebody you do a job for and he claims that he has deducted. You ask for evidence. They may not want to give you. Meanwhile, they have shorted your money, and the money is supposed to be there. So what if the man chops the money? It's not impossible. If you go to the next page, it speaks to that, where when you are filing your returns, you have the right to go and show evidence that money was deducted, but they have not seen the money. Okay, what round? Okay. Please, can you ask him if he should be ready? Okay. So it's very, very important that you know this. Okay, let's move on. Okay, payment of taxes. Let's go. The next, penalty and interest for payment. She spoke a lot about it. You can see this. Plenty of penalties, section 65. Let's go on. So please, it is cheaper to be compliant. Just do the right thing, because the cost of non-compliance at times is even greater than the cost of compliance. Okay. We've spoken to the various types of taxes. She's talked about crypto. Last year, the Securities Exchange Commission, the laws were revised, and crypto is now defined as a financial asset. Before, there was no definition. So our laws had to change. 5 years ago, who knew about Bitcoin or Ethereum or all that? But Nigeria was supposed to be one of the top 3 most active markets for crypto. So people are making plenty of money. So the laws were changed. That's part of why this new tax acts, part of the reforms. So these are a list of everything that is taxable. Let's go on, please. We just have a few minutes. Employment income. This speaks to that. We don't have time, so we'll just... but these are just some key areas. Okay, let's go on. Total income of an individual. We'll make this available, but this is important so you know what exactly is your total income. Like benefits in kind. If you are working for Geneva Enterprises or Geneva Limited, and there are certain benefits like accommodation, food. Okay, food is not included. A vehicle. Some of those benefits are taxable. So the laws will show you how to apply, and you'll be assessed on that. So it's important to know this. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on. Presumptive taxes, rates of tax. Income tax exemptions. There are a lot of exemptions from taxes. For instance, there's a very nice one. Please, the next page. Yes, companies generated by doing agribusiness and that. She said so. There's one I like. Okay, please go on. The next page. Okay. Something gains on awarded for valor or gallant, something like that. So maybe you did a good thing. Maybe they tried kidnapping somebody outside, and you were brave. You confronted the kidnapper and beat him up, overpowered him. You shouted. They came and, and people who are praising you, and the governor comes and dashes you 200 million naira, right? That or gives you 2 million naira to thank you for being a good citizen. The law is saying that that is not taxable. Act of gallantry, decoration award. That's interesting. But it's good that we know this. Okay, let's move on. Then agri companies and the rest. Okay. Finally, let's go on very quickly. Compliance. This is the fourth part. Please, let's go. Please. Disclosure of tax planning. That's a new rule. Tax planning means nobody wants to pay taxes. So you could sit down and say, okay, this is what I paid as taxes last year. These are the transactions I did. You sit down and plan with a specialist or maybe you call Dan to come and manage your taxes better. The law is saying that if you do that, you must disclose. So the government, why? So maybe the government to see that this guy is looking for ways to dodge taxes. That's a new rule, but mostly for big taxpayers. So I felt you should highlight that. She talked about inspecting books of accounts. Very, very important. Okay, let's go on. Tax agent, she talked about it. Okay, let's go on. Deployment of technology. Very, very important. Please, if you're doing businesses and the government now has the powers, if you have a supermarket, a shop, and they say they want to deploy technology to be monitoring, it is now law. Before you could do buffets, no, show me the law, I won't allow you. It is now the law, we must be compliant. This is very, very important, especially for big taxpayers. Tax clearance certificates, I've included it there. This part of the law speaks about TCC. Failure to file returns. Look at the penalties there. Failure to keep books of accounts. The penalties are there. Let's go on, please. Failure to grant access for deployment of technology and to use fiscalization systems. When they bring a POS, all that, the law says you must be compliant. It was not there before. It's now there. Failure to remit tax deducted. Okay, we spoke to withholding taxes. So it's important that I have a very interesting case here. I did something January. I was paid January last year. Since March, I've been begging for my withholding tax credit notes because I want to use them to file my returns before March. Up to yesterday, the employer is giving me grammar, or I've remitted it. I said, give me evidence now. How much did you remit? What day did you remit it? Let me know. I had to go to IRS, and they said they checked I used my states as where I file my taxes. And the people said they have no record of that. So, you know the implication of that? That means the employer, the person I did that job for, has sat down on Cross River State government's money from January last year to January this year. Our great DG and the government of Cross River State, they are looking for money to give grants and loans to young Cross Riverians so that people can start your businesses and then somebody is sitting down on the money. Imagine. If it's a failure, if you see CBN, you see the hash, they will pay interest plus penalty for every day until they remit that money. So that's what the law says. Okay, let's move on. Practical example. Okay, let's move on, please. Okay, let's go on. Next slide. Failure. Okay, next slide. Okay, please, can we do the practical? Is it doable? Okay, the practicals. We agreed we'll take this down. Okay, can we go ahead? We want to do some very quick practical examples to show you. Okay, please, can you take this down? No, wanted you to go to the website. No, not this. You can't do it. I wanted you to go to those sites. It's not possible. That's all. I wanted you to. Is it doable? Is it possible? It's not okay. Okay. Oh, it's not okay. Okay, let's go back to my slide. We'll share this. I wanted us to do some practical examples. The presidential committee, there's a simple template. I wanted us to just go through. You show your total income, this, it shows there are some liable expenses. If you make contributions for health insurance, social insurance, you deduct them. Then to show you how to calculate your taxable income. I wanted us to do it, but it's fine. Okay, let's go to the next page. This is a Form H. Sorry, it's not too clear. This is what your employers, if you're in paid employment, before the end of this month, your name, pension, how many months you worked, you show your annual gross, your gross emolument, your CRF, under up till beginning of this year. Next page, you show total reliefs. It will now calculate and show you how much you are liable for. Okay, next page. It's a practical. All right. Please, the next slide. Okay, this is a practical example. Under up to end of next month, if you were earning 3 million naira, please let's look at the first column, under the first section. If you were earning 3 million naira, it's what was known as a consolidated relief allowance. Some allowances are pulled together and some calculations are done. 200,000 plus 20% of your gross income. Let me not bother you with the calculations. So if you're earning 3 million naira and your CRA was 800,000 naira, your taxable income would be 2.2 million naira under the previous law up to December 31st. The first 300,000 will be taxed at 7%. The next 300 at 11%. The next 500 at 15%. That's 1.1 million already, right? The next 500 at 19%. Then the balance of 120 at 1.6. So you will pay a total of 3.5 million naira. Oh, 350,000, sorry. 350,000, right. Okay. So that will be your tax. Okay, so if you were earning 10 million naira, can you see? You pay 1.664, right? If you're earning 15 million naira, you see what you pay? 2.6. If you're earning 20 million naira, now, effective 1st of January, under the National Nigerian Tax Act, if you're earning 3 million naira, rent relief of 200,000, this how it's calculated based on the amounts you pay, I think 40% based on 500,000. Your taxable income will be how much? 2.8, right? The law says anything below 800,000, no tax. Therefore, out of that 2.8, how much is being taxed? You take out 800,000, right? So how much is being taxed? No. 3 million minus 200. The taxable income is how much? Okay. So the first 800,000, nothing is taxed, right? So what are we taxing? 15% on 2 million is what? The range says next 2.2. But what are we actually taxing? 2, not 2.2, right? So 300,000. Can you see the difference? So how much are you paying? Are you paying more tax or less tax? Clap for Tinubu now. Okay, so this is practical. No asymmetric warfare here. I'm running off. This is okay. Now, assuming you are earning 10 million naira, can you see 1.54, right? So, assuming your salary has not changed between years and next year, what is the implication of this? The implication is if you make it 10 million naira, this year, you're going to pay 1.554. And you paid how much last year? What's the difference? That's 110,000, right? That's a lot of money, isn't it? Only 110 on the same salary. So if you go to 15 million, you were paying 2.6 last year on 15 million, and you're going to be paying 2.5. What's the difference there? You can calculate it. However, if you're earning 20 million naira, you pay 3.584, and then you're paying how much extra? 4,000 naira. If you're earning 25 million, 4.5, 4.6. So you see that the big people, the big taxpayers, are paying more. The higher income earners, that's the word we use, right? Are paying higher taxes. Well, 800,000, imagine if you're, okay, so let's say you're earning 1 million naira, check your CRA, you calculate. You say a lot of people are not going to pay any personal income taxes. A lot will not pay personal income taxes anymore. So that's the truth. Okay, let's go on. The previous slide, please. The previous slide. We're finished. The previous slide. Okay, so this is from the Presidential Committee. This just showed you that if that was your annual gross pay, this is what you were earning 32 before under the new system. So if you're earning 840,000, we were paying, we assuming had deductions, we were paying 32,000. You're not going to pay anything. So if you're earning 840,000, you were paying 32. That means no tax from this year. So those ranges, you can see. Okay, let's move on. We're done. Okay, so these are some of the effects of the new tax laws on low-income earners. All right, the next slide. Okay, so returns. A small business is very, very important. When you're, please, before March 31st every year, you file your individual personal income tax reforms. PE, if you're a business, you have staff before 10th of every month. Capital gains were applicable. VAT, CIT, we're not going to talk to that since we're not. Then employers' annual income from H1. Okay. Okay, the next slide. So, thank you very much.
Hello. A round of applause for Mr. Panke. He really took his time as a teacher. He wants us to understand, so he took his time. Please, for his passion to want us to do the right thing, please, another round of applause. Our time is already fast spent, so we will rush over so that we can be done in the next few minutes. If you have questions, please put them down. When the panelists come up, you can ask your questions at length. Without much ado, I want to invite a very wonderful personality. But before I do that, please permit me, while taking recognitions, I skipped a few very important people, which includes our dear pastor, Anointed Eno. He's a peak performance coach and also a real estate business developer, and also Pastor Daniel, please a round of applause for him, who happens to also be a music consultant and a gospel recording artist. Without much ado, please welcome with me to just use 5 minutes, a representative of Zama, which is a fintech industry, to just come up 5 minutes. Mr. Phillips Meshach.
Hello. Okay. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, rather. Okay. So my name is Meshach. I'm going to be talking to everyone today about a product that we decided to build to help small businesses, freelancers, and also everyday users to keep track of their money and also help them with the calculation of their tax. So please, the next slide. Okay, so before I proceed to talk about the solution, I would like to talk about the problem. So the reason why we decided to create this product to help businesses and also companies, first, it was because we noticed that most businesses don't have a proper recording system. They can't keep track of their expenses. They don't know how much they are making, how much they are spending. They don't even have like a clear database of their clients, people they are dealing with. And also, most businesses, especially small businesses, because those are the people we're actually targeting, apart from the startups and the rest, they keep mixing up their personal expenses with their business expenses. And because of what, let's say, the new tax regime and everything, this is going to be a big problem at the end of the year when they decide to file their tax. Because the taxman will not understand that, okay, oh, this money was the personal money, or this one was the business money. So I think the final issue we're trying to resolve was the fact that a lot of people don't have real idea of what their profit is, and also a lot of people are scared of the new tax regulations. Most people, like, I think if you ask, let's say, out of 100 businesses, if you ask, let's say, one of the business owners, okay, how much did you make last month? You notice that most of them cannot give you accurate answers to how much they made last month, how much was spent, and literally things about their business. There's no, like, they always give you estimated values or estimated incomes or outflows. So please move next. So the reality, the truth is, as a small business, when I'm referring to small businesses because obviously when we say business is actually small, it means that the business have not like started gaining or have not started making certain amounts of money yet. So if a business that is yet to, let's say, make up to 100,000 naira, let's say, annually or monthly, how will they be able to afford an accountant? So that already is a big issue for most African small businesses because the cost of hiring an accountant or a tax consultant is not something I think every small business can actually afford now. Then the tax laws are actually confusing. To be very honest, I noticed during the lectures and everything, most people were sleeping, a lot of people were yawning. Those things are confusing because I think maybe because they are lengthy or something like that, but a lot of people find it very confusing. So next is also most people use their memory and also notebooks. And we need to understand that notebooks, these are things that can either get lost or get destroyed. So then I don't even talk about those people that are using their memory because I don't know how you want to remember everything you spent on the entire year. So now the solution. So what we're offering is a product called Zama. First, we are going to help you keep track of your income and expenses. The platform does that for you automatically. You don't need to even know how to do the normal addition, 2 plus or whatever. The platform will do that for you. All you have to do is just put in your income, put in your expenses, the calculations and everything we've done for you. You can easily see your profits, you can easily see your estimated tax, and you have clear records of basically everything your business is doing. Like you can easily walk up to someone and tell them exactly how much you made last year, how much you made last month, and the growth you've made. All this can be done through the platform we've decided to build. Please, next slide. So, who are we building for, or who did we build this platform for? We built this platform for small businesses, freelancers, startups, and literally anyone that cannot hire a consultant, an accountant, sorry, or a tax consultant. Please, next slide. So, why this matter? First, you need to know your number. As a business, you need to know how much you are making. Let's say you decide to grow. Some of the common questions your investors, or let's say you go to the bank to collect loan or whatever, the questions will ask you like, how much are you making? So you need to know your numbers. Secondly, you need to be tax ready because the penalties are not small money. Imagine paying 50K first month, next month 25, next. And also, you're not just being penalized for not paying your tax, you're also being penalized for not paying the right amount of tax. Let's say you're supposed to pay 200K, you ended up paying either 180 or something. The taxman might start thinking you're trying to either cheat them or cheat the government. And also, access to loan and opportunities. I also talked about that, saying that if you decide to expand your business by either getting loans or getting investors, you will need to have like a clear record of how much your business have made and how much you people are currently like looking for. Then investors ready. Please, next slide. So the best part of this product is, first, it is free. We are not actually charging any money to keep track of your income, your expenses, your clients, and everything. It's 100% free for now. And also, it's built for Africans, so it supports multiple currencies. So let's say you're in Kenya or you are in Ghana. There are other currency options that you can always set, like from your settings. Then it's easy to use on mobile. Currently, we're still working on the mobile app, but the web version is available and it's responsive for both mobile and also desktop. So you can access your business information from anywhere in the world, either with your mobile phone, your desktop, your iPad, or whatever. Please, the final one. So I think that's the end. So the meaning of Zama means effort, because we believe small businesses, they're already working hard. Already running a business in Nigeria is already like twice as hard as in other developed countries. Then we also believe that small businesses can do better if they have access to the right tools. So that's the reason why we decided to build this product for everyone within Nigeria and also like outside Nigeria. Thank you very much for your time, and that'll be all.
Please, a round of applause to Mr. Phillips Meshach. At this juncture, we move straight up to the next item. I want to recognize this wonderful personality, and who happens to be the lead of Accelerate. And he will be coming up to just throw more light on what Accelerate is all about, life, career, and business. Please welcome with me the Vice President, Kalsima, Mr. Liel Imokwede.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure we're enjoying this. A bit technical, but it's very necessary. If you're not enjoying it, let me see your hands. So it's very important we take all these things in, and it's also important to let you know that it's not just once. So you have to keep hearing, you have to keep listening. Like somebody said, a lot of our content creators have misled us with too much information. So we brought competent people here to teach us about this, you know. So this is Accelerate. Accelerate is a new unit in City Church. It's more like the business development unit. And our lead pastor, Pastor Tony, has taught it very wise. That even not just teaching us, telling us that we are salt and light, teaching us about being salt and light as Christians, but he wants us to be salt and light in the marketplace. So in that your business, in that your plantain cheese business, be the salt, be the light. Do you get what I mean? So this is Accelerate. It will hold quarterly. This is the first. This was expedient that we have to do this because of these tax laws. And it was important that our community, the church, and our friends, and please, next time when you come, please tell somebody to tell somebody. So you don't have to be City Church members to be part of Accelerate. So it was important that we do this for our intelligence and education. So this will hold quarterly. Please go on. So yes, we want you guys to think like entrepreneurs, add value to what you do. We want to be able to encourage everybody. There's something I always like to say, innovate or die. We can't be selling granules the same way you sold it 20 years ago. You can't be doing the same thing the same way you did it 20 years ago. You must follow the trend. We are in Accelerate. We are going to be talking to ourselves and doing all of this. Accelerate is for everyone. Accelerate is for me. I don't know everything. And I'm sure I will learn from you as well. So you come with an open mind to learn. Please bring your ideas. We are not saying, yes, we are going to. So please send us topics. Send us ideas of what you want us to teach. And yes, I must this time thank some of our dignitaries that are here, Mr. Great Ogban, the DG Meda. And I will make him say something for 1 minute. And I also want to thank my boss, Mr. David Etty, immediate past president of the Calabar Chamber of Commerce, here. So you see that, just saying, I didn't personally invite them for this, but just saying this, they understand what this is, this commerce ecosystem. So you see that they are here. So please, meet them after the event, note them, collect their numbers, talk with them. So please go on. So the goal is simple. Yes, we want to equip people with insight, with skills, and exposure. Yes, we know how the economy is now. We're in a different realm. So nobody says one source of income is going to, to do it. So we're going to be doing all of that in Accelerate. So just encourage you, teach you, and all of that. Please go up, please. So Accelerate is for, like I told you before, Accelerate is for everyone. It's for me, it's for you, it's for professionals, it's all of us that wants to make a better community. Please go on. Through Accelerate, we'll have practical conversations. So I'm not going to come here and tell you big things. You see from the speakers today, you see how they were trying to break it as it is. So I will not come here to come and tell you. We're going to tell you practical things. We're going to be looking at community-based things. We're in Calabar. We're going to be telling you how you work in Calabar. We're not going to tell you Abuja style or American style. So Accelerate is a practical platform. Go on, please. So yes, the goal is our one clear focus to help our community grow, build, and thrive. And I welcome all of you on this journey. I'm just one of the pilots. All of us here are all driving this train together. So if you decide to go left while we go right, you get? So we want you to join us. They're going to display the barcode. So I want you to join us, like I said earlier. I want you to give us ideas, tell us how we can be better, So it's a business development arm from the church, and we are going to be giving out different things that will come up, from accessing bank loans, from businesses, business development. And in short, let me even throw this here, that Calcima is going to be doing business development support free for serious people, please. And I'm sure my friend Great Ogban will have one or two things to encourage us. So please watch out for the next quarter. Aside the fiscal meets, we're going to do a lot online to put up activities. Please watch our online mediums. We're going to be putting up a lot of things and all of that. So thank you very much. Thank you. So quickly, let me just allow Mr. Great Ogban say one thing, because he has to run and before leaving.
Good afternoon, everybody. I feel very excited to be here this morning to this afternoon. But I'll start by saying a big thank you to Pastor. I have followed Pastor for many years, right from when he was running Stonecraft. So he's a seasoned in all ramification, well seasoned and prepared for what God is building in our society. Thank you so much, sir, for making yourself available, for impacting in us the investment in your personality. God will continue to strengthen you, and your followers, your followers, will ensure that we deliver and not disappoint you. Thank you so much. I'd like to also thank my friend, my brother, the ever-supportive Leo. I am glad that you're the one championing this cause. Pastor, the era of our churches building the best or the A-class persons to become pastors should be over. Because in the marketplace, those guys, the agenda guys have taken over everywhere. Now, for example, I was just thinking about it. If Joseph wasn't close to the disciples, maybe the body of Jesus Christ wouldn't have been collected. The disciples did not have access to government. They did not. And it happened recently. Somehow, many years ago, I was in the pastorate in my church, Christ Embassy. I've been a coordinator, but that's the last phase before you're anointed. So when I started doing politics, they saw me as an unbeliever. It didn't make sense. Fast forward, God has taken us here. Reverend Tom came, the second to Pastor Chris, and he needed to see the governor. Nobody had the access. But I delivered it. So if I wasn't, how would he have seen the governor? It would have been a disappointment. So what we're doing here is equipping champions in the marketplace. Those guys, they are buying up all the industry, so I can't talk much. It's deep. Pastor knows. So we need to be equipped in the house of God to face them because they are serious about the agenda. And we have to be serious about the agenda of Christ. So thank you so much, sir. I'll make myself available at the agency, whatever we stand for, SME development, access to finance, access to government regulatory agencies. All those platforms are available for whoever participates in the Accelerate program. We'll participate in, make them available for everybody. Thank you, and God bless you, sir.
A round of applause to Mr. Great Ogban. Thank you very much, sir, for being here and also giving us that word of comfort and support. Please, while Mr. Phillips Meshach was speaking, he didn't mention the site, so I'll just call it out, www.usezama.com. www.usezama.com. So you can always visit that site and check out the privileges that the product would offer. At this juncture, we'll be moving straight up to the last item of this program, which is the panel discussion. And yes, we have here with us another wonderful personality, Mr. Daniel Anko, MBFCA, ACTICFAN, who is vast in what he does, accounting, auditing, and tax administration. He is a seasoned accountant with over 25 years' experience in accounting, auditing, and taxation, and has also contributed significantly to Nigeria's financial landscape. He holds his master's in business administration from the University of Calabar. He is a fellow with Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and Associate Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He's a pioneer certified forensic accountant. It might interest you to also know that Mr. Daniel Anko happens to be one of the foremost persons to get their ICANN, the first 450 persons to get their ICANN in Nigeria. With his 25 years of diverse experience in accounting, auditing, and taxation, his expertise cuts across the public, private, and development sectors of Nigeria. He is a consultant that has served with the Cross River State government and has contributed significantly to empowerment of 2,588 beneficiaries of microcredit facilities and has been advising on financial strategies during Donald Duke's administration. He has been a lecturer also who served with Chartered Institute of Administration from 2014 to 2023 and has been impacting knowledge in financial accounting, tax administration, and financial operations of aspiring professionals. He has broad sector experience, which includes hospitality, construction, retail, healthcare, education, media, government, and non-profit organizations, where he has shown his versatility and expertise. He is the principal partner of Dan Anko and Company, Chartered Accountants and Consultants. He offers comprehensive audit, tax, and advisory services to both public and private institutions, ensuring quality and integrity in every engagement. His work experiences are not limited to these, but include Ladi Fatuga and Co. Chartered Accountants and Tax Consultants in Lagos, and Fry Ashibong and Co. Chartered Accountants. Daniel and Co. has provided invaluable consulting services to the Cross River State government, focusing on tax accounts reconciliation and enhancing revenue operations for improved financial management. His firm has served as trusted external auditors for numerous companies and associations and has ensured integrity and confidence in financial reporting compliance within Nigerian business landscape. His firm authored the process manual for the revenue operations in the Department of the Cross River State Internal Revenue Service. He is happily married with 3 children, embodying integrity, humility, and dedication to professional excellence, which complements his robust career in accounting and consulting. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, please permit me to invite upstage Mr. Daniel Anko. Please, let's celebrate. Thank you very much, sir, for honoring this invitation. Thanks for coming. And next, will be seated close to him is Mr. Banke Oga. And the moderator for this panel discussion is no other person than our very own Mrs. Jennifer Honora.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I'm very pleased to be seated here on this panel. I must say it's exciting. Mr. Akmanke was my boss for about 7 years. Don't mind how he's speaking very softly here. That time, if he gives you tax and you don't deliver, then you must hear it because everything must be done right. And he was so detailed with his presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Dan Anko is also a seasoned accountant. In fact, his firm does tax consulting across the country. One of the good things about the tax system now is you can do it from anywhere. He does consulting for firms in Lagos, in Abuja, and everywhere else. So I'm sure the both of them can answer every question that we have. And I'm very sure that before we walked into this door, we all came with our questions about these new tax laws and the mischaracterization of it. So here is the time. Please ask us your questions. What is it and what is it not? Okay, I'm going to start with the first question that came in while we have a microphone going around to take questions from the audience. The first question here, sir, is, Mr. Anko, I would like you to answer this question. As a pure water company, you pay your workers on commission basis. How do you file tax for them?
Good afternoon. Okay, as a pure water company, you pay your staff commission. You can do one of two things. At the point where you are paying them, you can get withholding taxes. But it's easier. Usually tax is calculated per annum and divided by 12 to arrive at your monthly taxes. So if your commission for the month was a particular amount that, how do I put this now? If you would commission, you would compute your commission for the month. And if it is not up to the minimum tax, you pay ₦0 for that month. But you would need to file the account.
Thank you very much, sir.
The amount you pay as commission determines whether or not taxes would be paid.
Okay, can we have the questions from the audience, please? If you have a question.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I have a series of questions, but hopefully I don't get to ask all of them. They're like linking questions. So the first one is directed to NGOs, precisely. So how does this recent tax reform affect the non-profit organizations, particularly the church? So, okay. And the next linking question is, are funds received by the church, let's say the offerings, donations, and other incomes, subject to taxation under the current tax law? If yes, what returns is the church required to file annually to the tax authority? I'll just start with that first.
Mr. Akbanke, please take that question.
Okay, thank you very much. I always like to use practical examples. I was privileged to do a session like this in December for an NGO. So the answers, very direct questions, direct answers. The answer is that NGOs are not liable to income taxes. A church, NGOs were registered under Section C of CAMA. I don't know, that was before 2020, which is why we keep saying, when you're going into business, even the type of business registration or the kind of entity you are trading or doing business as is very, very important. So NGOs, churches, NGOs are registered under Section C, and they are exempt from paying taxes on their income. The tithes, the fees, all you generate here. However, where you do a commercial activity, you have now moved from doing your business of education, whatever the objects are, sports, education, social investment, whatever NGOs, religion, etc., etc. When you now do commercial activities, you are liable for taxes. Say, for instance, you have a printing press, and you print your, maybe it's a small press, you print the material for the church, Sundays, books, religious, around the objects of the church. But when you go commercial, somebody comes and says, I want to do exercise books for my school, and then you charge them. It's not free. You have gone outside your business. You're now a business person. You're no longer doing church work, so you're liable to taxes. Let's say you lease out your structure here, your facility, and you collect maybe 100K. Now, you're not a businessman. So with all the tax, you are liable to taxes. We had a very interesting case when we were in the service. A big church in Calabar, they had a printing press. So they were doing their business, a very big church. So they have a lot of their articles. The chief pastor produces something, the press does it. Then they went into business. So the tax investigators uncovered this and set them in huge liability. One day, the big man from the church appeared in my office. Big man then, you know. So I was nice, respectful. He came. I said, but Oga, you diverted now. You're no longer doing the business. My own church, we have a hall, a very big hall, which we lent out. So my tax people came one day and said this thing. My priest called me. I said, Father, we are doing business now. What do we do? But other taxes, for instance, let's say my friend here, or let's say Leo is in full employment of the church and he earns a salary. You are under the liability as an agent to deduct his PE and remit. You are not paying taxes. It is Leo that's paying taxes. It was very, very clear. So you are responsible for remitting taxes for your employers. Let's say under PE where it's applicable, where maybe it ends over 800,000 and the rest. If, for instance, you renovate the hall here and you have a contractor who handles the job, withholding taxes, you are liable. You must deduct. If not, you will pay. I had another experience, so I'm going to end there, but let me just share this. Where I worked many, many years ago, it was an NGO. So our office premises was owned by another NGO. So when we paid taxes, we did not deduct withholding taxes. When the tax inspectors went, they said, why didn't you deduct withholding taxes? Oh, no, it's an NGO that owns it. But it's an NGO. You're now doing commercial business. That's outside the objects of our business. So we're liable. We had to pay my former organization because we were supposed to deduct, and we did not. And we saw the consequences. So we had to pay the taxes. At that stage, it's your business. Maybe your landlord, when you're paying next year, you tell him, oh, God, we didn't deduct and all that. I want to recover it. So it's important that we understand the transaction, the tax basis, and, the extent of our liabilities and responsibilities.
In addition to that, as an NGO, even as a church, you are obligated to file returns. First to the Corporate Affairs Commission, because they are like your mother. They birth you, and on a yearly basis, they want to see you, and you have to file. In 2021, if I recall, there was a law that NGOs are now also to file annual returns, prepare audited report, and file with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, now Nigeria Revenue Service. So in as much as you are not making profit, it doesn't stop you from doing what you're supposed to do. You would be penalized if you've not been filing your annual returns with the Nigerian Revenue Service, because you are seen as a company limited by guarantee. You are a company, not a limited liability company, but you are a company limited by guarantee, meaning that it is the integrity of the people that form part of your trustee that you have as shares. Shares is to a limited liability company, as guarantee is to not-for-profit organizations. So you would file annual returns with the Nigerian Revenue Service.
Thank you, sir. I think that we should just have this at the back of our minds. When it comes to registration and filing, there are no exemptions. Everybody must register and file, whether you're going to pay tax, whether you are not. Do you know that even government agencies are to register and have a tax ID? Local governments as well, under the new laws. As a matter of fact, last week, I was about to print a letter in my office, and our secretary was saying, we are out of letterheads. So I was just like, they should print more now. She said, no, we are waiting to put our tax ID on our letterheads before we make the new ones. So even the Cross River Internal Revenue Service is registering. So that I think we should not even go down that. Don't ask again. No, yes, you must register, you must file. Yes, you must register, you must file. Yes, you must register. and you must file. Whether it's nil you're filing, you must register and you must file your tax returns by the new laws. Okay, because I'm saying that because the questions I have here, number 1 and number 2 is, so at what point should I register my small business? Yes. And you must. Thank you, sir. The second question here is, how do I calculate my small business tax aside my salary? Mr. Anko, I'm going to read these 3 questions for you so that you can just take them all together. How do I calculate my small business tax aside from my salary? Should I separate my small business account from my salary account to better account for my tax? What if my small business generates more than 800,000 per annum? Will I be taxed under personal income, or I should register the business and be taxed under business/company tax?
Okay. If you do not have, there are 2 ways of registering your business. It's either register as a business name, the venture, or you register as a limited liability company. Now, if you're running a small business, now there are also advantage and disadvantage of running those businesses. For a sole proprietorship or a business name, that you can take decisions very quickly. You enjoy the privilege of taking all the profits. You're not sharing it. But in the eyes of the law, a business name is an alias of the owner. So it's like, if anything, okay, limited liability, as the name implies, is you are limited to the extent of your unpaid share capital. What do I mean? If your share capital is, say, 1 million, and that there are 2 persons that own the company, one has paid his 500,000, and the other has paid 300,000. What's the amount owed? 200, right. Now, if for anything, that business has a problem and is owing 20 million naira, and the company's asset is only 5 million naira, the law will come after you to the extent of your unpaid share capital. 20 million minus 5 million, what is left? 15 million. Now the company is owing either government or others 15 million. As a limited liability company, what the government can come after you for is only 200,000. But if the case is the same for a business name, and the business name owns the same liability of 15 million, that business name has an asset of only 5 million. It's been cleared. Your personal asset will go for it, because as far as the law is concerned, both of you are the same. So if you own a house and the house is worth 20 or 30 million, it can be sold. So the option is yours, whether you want to run a business name or you want to run a limited liability company. And to the question itself, it is best to separate your business money from your personal money at all times. Open an account that you run your business. We see that every other time when we have to make explanations for clients, but it's no longer going to be business as usual. So for someone who is an employee and you are also running a business, when the tax form is issued to you, there are provisions. You are told to provide your employment salary. There's provisions for your business income. There's provision if you own a property that you are renting out. There's provisions for that, for rental income. There's provisions for income from outside the country. There's provisions for dividend. There's provisions for pensions and gratuity. You would have to state all of this, because at the end of the day, it is your global income that is subject to tax. So you would not hide under the guise that you are only employed, but your side hustle is not brought to the table. When that happens and the likes of Jennifer gets hold of you, you will pay. And you will not just pay, you will pay plus interest and penalty, because at that instance, government sees it as you've been trading with their money. So you will pay interest plus penalty. I hope I've answered that question. You've talked of your side hustle is above 800,000. Like I said, all will be consolidated and you'll be subjected to company income tax. Some people also have the opinion that because they are running a limited liability company, they as individuals will not be taxed. That is false. As a limited liability company, when the company is separate from the person, so the company is subjected to tax. Whatever is left as a profit after tax is shared amongst the shareholders. Now, that money shared comes to you as a person, and that is part of what you must declare to the tax authority, state tax authority, as your income. So both the limited liability company will be subjected to tax, and you as an individual, as a director, will be subjected to tax. That is why you would always see the State Internal Revenue Service come with a form and ask you to pay direct stores tax or direct assessment. The difference between you as a director and your staff is you pay your salary, you earn profit, while your staff earns salary. And salary is paid on a month-by-month basis. That is why you also file that on a month-by-month. But for a business owner or a director of a limited liability company, because you are earning profit, it is only at the beginning of a new year that you would compute what your profit is for the previous year. And then you are given between January and March to file your taxes. I'll answer that question.
Okay, thank you. Let me just add, you see, these decisions, they are business decisions as to the business structure you want to do is determined by a lot of matters. For instance, you as a young person, you want to do let's say you want to start a small business, and then you want to trade as a sole prop. I think to register a sole prop now is, Leo, I think it's 20K, Abi? Leo, I think it's 20,000 now, sole prop. A limited liability company, if you want to do 1 million paid up, you're going to spend, yeah. You see, so two options. You want a limited liability company, you're going to spend 100K. Or you want a sole prop, 20K. How many of us will go for the sole prop? So it has its advantages and disadvantages. Like we made reference to the church. The church is registered under Section C as a company. The church cannot register as a sole prop because of the nature of what the church does and the laws. There may be certain business activities you want to carry out, which will inform the business registration. For instance, if you want to go and build, understand they are selling oil blocks now. Let's say you're a big man, you want to go and buy an oil block. Will you, if you want to apply, you cannot apply as a sole proprietorship now. It's not possible because a limited liability company is a separate entity. It is a living thing. It's an artificial person who has a right to be sued, to carry out transactions in its name, just like you as a company. So those decisions, there are a lot of advantages. Like Danny said, a company pays taxes on its income, is assessed on profit, sorry. While you as an individual, you're assessed on your income. So those decisions you take based on the type of business you want to do and the other inherent, incentives and advantages. It's important to note that.
Thank you very much, sir. I know the terms are sounding a little bit technical, and I'm trying to be as, should I say, simple as it can be. I just thought to say this. For some of us who are thinking, okay, they are saying small companies with turnover of 50 million and below will not pay taxes. So all this one they are saying, I'll just go and register company after all so that I will not pay tax. I think what Mr. Dan is saying is, you and that company, you people are two different people. Oh. So even if your company makes a turnover of maybe 45 million and does not pay company's income tax, if you as a director in that company, the company out of its 45 million it's made, paid you director's fee of maybe 10 million, that 10 million is taxable. You will pay tax, your personal income on it. Okay. So I have another question now. This one is on withholding tax. I'm trying to understand it. It says, if a client removes withholding tax from the contract sum before paying the contractor, is the contractor also expected to remove withholding tax from subcontractors? And then how should the contractor manage payments to daily laborers who work inconsistently with the contractor? I think there's a lot there.
Yes, there is. Okay. If I got the question right, you're asking about deductions of withholding taxes. If withholding tax, if you if you are in a contract, there are two parties to the contract. You as the contractor are obliged. Now the government uses, let me start by saying, the government cannot reach all of us at the same time. So it gives rules. It uses Mr. Banke to check me and uses me to check Mr. Banke. If a contractor like, say, Lafarge engages my services, I'm a portfolio business. The government does not know where I'm residing, but knows Lafarge. It uses Lafarge to check me and deducts withholding taxes. Now, withholding taxes is not a tax on its own. It's only an advance payment of tax. The government may not see me anymore, but at least it's been able to get something from me. Now, it also gives you instructions to collect value-added tax and remit on behalf of government, or on behalf of Lafarge. So he uses Lafarge to check me and uses me to check Lafarge. Now, I also have engaged Mr. Banke to carry out a service. Maybe I provide vehicles to Lafarge, and I collect vehicles from Akbanke to provide that service. I'm also obliged to deduct withholding tax from Akbanke and remit to government using his tax ID. So government has used Lafarge to check me, has used me to check Akbanke. So if Akbanke chooses at the beginning of a new year, not to go to the tax authority to claim that by filing his annual returns, so be it, at least government had collected their money and on time. But they would still go after him in the long run. With these new tax laws, they will go after him. So yes, if withholding taxes have been deducted from you also are obliged to deduct withholding taxes from the other party.
And just to add, if you have the obligation under the law to deduct withholding tax and you don't, I think this new law is even better than the old law. In the old law, you pay the withholding tax you did not deduct, and then you pay penalty and interest. You pay the full amount you did not deduct and penalty and interest. But in the new law, you pay 40%, and I think penalty and interest or thereabouts. I'm not very sure of how it goes, but I know that there's been but you will still pay. That's withholding tax. If it was 100 million, you were supposed to deduct, and you did not deduct it, the person will tell you, no, give me my full money, and you allow the person to go. You will pay for the person when the time comes. Okay, so I'm going to answer this question.
Sorry,
because
please, let me just, I hope it's very straightforward. Danny has taken a lot of trouble to explain it. I just want to, for practical purposes, revenue authorities here. Okay. Part of these reforms, we saw how the government is trying to make life easier, right, by reducing the withholding tax regulation. I'm quoting the law. Says that within a month, a cycle of 1 month, if you are a contractor, for instance, give you a fantastic example. Let's say you do supplies, service provision for Lafarge. Lafarge pays you, you invoice, let's say you did a job of 1.8 million, right? You used a sole proprietorship or a limited liability company, as the case may be, and they're deducting, say, 10%, which is 180,000. What the law says, or the effective last year, is that you are exempted from withholding tax. That is right, Abby? If the threshold is below 2 million naira in a month. So if you're a small company or a small business and you do vertible supplies, the employer, the person is not supposed to deduct. This was effective last year, 2025. So you see, accelerate. We need. This is what the government has said. If you're a small business, let us save them. The same way they say, if you're a small business, don't pay tax. If you're doing agric, don't pay tax. In fact, even as an individual, you're not supposed to pay tax. If you're doing, yes, as an individual, you have a poultry. When you are filing your returns, you are exempt on that particular business, for your information.
Okay, this question says, if I'm not mistaken, you said that military personnel are not taxable. So what if a military personnel, I have a business, could be big or small? Do I still pay tax for that? Okay, I'll make a clarification. Okay, I heard yes. Thank you very much. Please clap for yourself. I think we are together. Yes, I did not say military personnel are not taxed. I said the salaries of military personnel are not taxed. That is an innovation of the new law. So if a military personnel whose salary is tax-free decides to do a side hustle, that side hustle will be taxed.
I hope it's clear. It's very, very important too.
Okay, this question, I think, Mr. Dan, is on withholding tax. You already spoke about it. Can you explain what withholding tax really means and how best to ensure its payment to, example, rent payment?
Okay, withholding tax is, like I said, it's not a tax on its own. It's an advance payment of taxes. Now for rent, if you have houses that you are renting out and you are receiving an income for that, it is an income and it is called rental income. So withholding tax is a deduction of a percentage. For now, I think it's 10%. Now, it will be remitted to the Internal Revenue Service if it is an individual that owns the property. If it is an organization or a limited liability that owns the company, it will be remitted to the Nigerian Revenue Service. At the point where you are now filing your tax returns, maybe your tax, you deducted, let's use an example. You collected a rent of, the rent is 1 million naira. 10% of 1 million is how much? 100,000. Now, that money is deducted and remitted to the Cross River State government as your withholding taxes. And after all your taxes have been computed, your tax comes to 180,000 naira. You have an option of asking the Internal Revenue Service that you want to apply that 100,000 in addition to a cash of 80,000 to pay your taxes for the year. So what happens is you now bring in less cash at the point where you are paying your taxes, as to paying the entire 180,000 with cash. Withholding taxes helps you pay your tax in advance. I don't know if I've communicated.
At this point, I would like to take 2 questions from our online community. The first one says, how about the tax already taken from civil servants earning less than 800K? Will that eventually stop? Please allow me to respond to this. I think this person maybe misunderstands. First of all, the new tax laws have come into effect from what date? 1st of January 2026. So as it stands, I don't believe anybody has actually been paid on the new computation yet. However, so the old laws were in place until December 31st. Now, any person earning 800,000 or less will pay 0 tax. As a matter of fact, even a person earning over 800,000 will pay 0 tax on his first 800,000. I hope we're together. So if, assuming your per annum is 5 million, the first 800,000 of that 5 million is 0 tax. So everybody enjoys this, should I say, holiday, this tax holiday. The second question from the online community. Please help me. After registering for the tax ID for the first time, would one have to declare and pay for the past year or years come March?
Okay. If what you'll be declaring would be using the old law. Now, Nigeria operates on a preceding year basis. So whatever you earned in 2025 is assessed to tax in 2026. I don't know if I'm communicating. Yes. So the old tax law is what would be used in filing your annual returns as at January 1 to 31st of January. The new tax law took effect from 1st of January. So when you are filing your tax returns in 2027 for 2026 is when we would use the new tax law to apply and file between January 1 and 31st of January of 2027. Sorry, and then please let me just add to the lady, the person who asked concerning not the 800,000 now, the pure water business that pays commission. Now, if it was in the old law and your commission was up to 30,000, that money would be exempted. But if it is more than 30,000, it will be subject to the personal income tax. In the new law, if the person gets a commission from January, if the person earns up to 67,000 naira, he will not pay tax. But anything above that may pay tax, but you will need to use the tax calculator to compute his or her tax. It's like people who work in Lafayette, the workers. No two months are the same. You are paid based on the hours you put in the business. So if this month you put in 30 hours, you'll be paid for 30 hours. Next month you put in 40 hours, you'll be paid for 40 hours. So no 2 months are the same. So like I said, when you are computing tax for a month, you multiply it by 12 first. You multiply your income by 12. Taxes are paid, are computed per annum and divided by 12 to arrive at your monthly taxes. That's why if you see your appointment letters, when you are given an appointment letter, your salary is stated per annum. It's not stated per month. You earn 30,000. No, you earn 360,000 for the year. So that is how taxes are computed. Multiply by 12, have your salary. If you have earned 1 month's salary, it will be multiplied by 12 and the tax is calculated per annum and then divided by 12 to know how much you earned for the month.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I like the practical purposes. Okay, asymmetric warfare. Let me create a little confusion here now. Businessman, you employ people, right? To do, let's say you have a bakery, for instance. You employ staff. There are two ways. You can employ them as full staff, right? And put them on salary. Or, what's the other option? You're casual. Good. You know the difference between, if you have a full staff, it's documented, it's your staff. Every month, you may have to deduct his, you call Danny to do your taxes, NHF, this, that. Then when labor union come, they say you must pay him minimum wage, right? And there are other, the law imposes other responsibilities on you as an employer. On the other hand, if you casualize, which may not be legal, depending on what you do, it saves you trouble. So, if you have staff, as your business has staff, full-time staff, you're going to deduct payee. If, on the other hand, this question has come up for small businesses in the cost of asymmetric warfare since the new tax reforms started. If you keep them as casual workers, you can treat them as consultants or service providers. In that case, you're going to charge withholding taxes. So, depending, it could be higher. So, some of these things too are their business decisions.
So I think you're really bringing asymmetric warfare here. You're taking
No,
it
but-
to,
yeah,
you're
but
taking it so technical.
It's food for thought, because a lot of small businesses, you may not be able to employ people. It's been a very serious discussion among small people. You may not just be able to employ people. I may want to go casual.
So I think at that point,
Okay.
they will need to come for
Thank
tax
you very much.
consultation.
So you come for...
They need to come for
Danny and the rest
consultation
will
and be
come.
properly guided. Okay, so because time is not on our side, I'm going to take Pastor G's question. But before I do that, I'm going to do yes or no on these three questions. So this question is for you, Mr. Akwanke, because you're a former government official. Please, yes or no. Do government officials also pay taxes? I'm talking about state governors and House of Assembly members.
Yes, they do.
Is fixed deposit and personal savings taxable, Mr. Anko? Yes or no?
It is, but you are paid before you even collect the money. Withholding taxes is deducted.
Okay. Now, what is tax? Is the interest. Let's say you fix 1 million naira, and you earn interest of 10,000 naira. It's the interest is the income. That's where you're making the money. That's the income. So the interest is taxed. However, certain investments are exempt. For instance, if we've heard of Nigerian Treasury bills, Treasury certificates, if Cross River State goes and raises a bond in the capital market, or a financial instrument, and then you earn interest, they are not taxable. But if Lafarge raises a commercial paper or banker's acceptance and you invest, that income, the income you're making is taxed.
Okay, so please, I want to take the question from Pastor G, and please let him have a microphone while I say this. How independent is the tax ombudsman? It's very independent because it's a completely different organization on its own, apart from the tax authority, so it's very independent. When I pay my tax in Cross River, does it reflect in the National Revenue Portal? I don't know what you mean by the National Revenue Portal, but what I know is that this new tax ID allows your tax payments to be visible across board, just like maybe your bank statements and all that. So it's going to keep all your tax remittances all in one place that can be viewed across different parts of the country. Sir, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, speakers, for such insightful time we spent. Just a quick one. I've been a bit, worried in my head listening to all we've been hearing until one of the questions that dropped kind of highlighted what's been going on in my head, and that's when someone was asking about if you'll be taxed on past years. Remember that question? So it struck me because I don't know if I'm wrong, but it means that a lot of us are in crisis already. Like there's fire on the mountain and a lot of people don't seem to know, but I want to maybe clarify, maybe help someone. Because we know that the way things have been, there are a lot of us who've not, it's not that people are waking up to tax. It's now, we know that the tax law has been there. But a lot of us have just been going about our lives, but whether we're earning salaries or doing business, who cares? Who cares? But with what is on ground now, like you rightfully answered, the filing you've been asked to do between now and March, all right? You're obviously going to be filing previous years, right? So there's a crisis because I think that a lot of us are in debt. We're in serious debt. By the time we start filing all that we have been owing government. So I just thought that maybe a little bit of light should come there so that by the time you're done filing and you find out that you have been chopping government money, are there penalties for that, or is there any leniency knowing that there's a new tax law? So I just thought that maybe that will help some of us.
Okay. It calls for concern. Let me start by saying that for those of us here who would want to contest for election, one of the requirements is you must have a tax clearance certificate. So at the end of every year, so that you don't pay what is imposed on you during election time, government decides what they want to give you as taxes if you have not paid your taxes and collected your tax clearance certificate. If you have collected your tax clearance certificate and for that year you were supposed to pay 20,000 naira, that is what your tax clearance says, and that's what you will pay. But if at the point of getting forms for elections, you now want to get tax clearance certificates, the government can give you a best of, tell you to pay 1 million naira for that office. But if you have been filing your returns on a normal, it is that tax clearance that you would have used to contest elections and would have had what you would have. Now, to the question in itself, the government can not go to a particular extent in asking you to pay. A tax clearance certificate shows 3 years. For 2026, if you are getting a tax clearance for 2026, it will show 2025, 2024, and 2023 for an individual. So if you want to get your tax, and then if you did not earn any income for the other 2 years, and it is only last year you earned income, it is only that last year that you'll be subjected to tax. But if you had earned incomes the other 2 years, I would advise you to just make payments for those 2 years so that interest and penalties will not be slammed on you. But for a business, the government has up to 6 years. They can hit you with your taxes. After 6 years, it's statute bad. So if you are in 2026 now, and government wants to look at your books, we'll look at 2025, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 2020. Those are 6 years for a limited liability company or a business name. They can go back to up to 6 years. If it is an investigation, they can go beyond 6 years. But that is the position of the law.
Thank you very much, sir. I am so sorry to everyone else who has a question. We have to shut this down now. I just want to say that, like I said in my presentation, we can't go through every single thing right now. There's layers of technicality to it. So there are persons you can approach. You can go to Mr. Dananko, Mr. Kwanke, or myself if you have questions or need any clarifications on anything, and I'm sure we'll be happy to respond to that. Also, I would like to encourage everybody to please go away from the mischaracterizations, please. The chairman of that fiscal reforms is Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. If you want to look at information that talks about the reforms, please, that's the verifiable source. Or the JRB. The JRB has been very, very active on social media. That is the Joint Revenue Board. That's where verifiable information about the tax reforms are being posted. When you follow them, you can get verifiable information, or you can just ask a tax professional around you what it is about, and I'm sure they'll be happy to respond. So at this point, I would like to say thank you so much to Mr. Dan and Mr. Akbanke for honoring our invitation and being here with us. It was a very insightful session. Thank you so much. God bless you, sir.
Whilst we are done, please, the panelists, can you just can I have the mic? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We'll invite our father, Pastor Tony Aleogena, to please come up. Mr. Leah Limokede, and also the DG, and also the immediate past president of Kasima. Please just come up for a group photograph. While that is going on, I'll just take quick announcement, and we are out of here. Thank you very much for coming for Accelerate 2026, the first session. Please clap. I'm sure that your time isn't wasted, is it? And we know we would have more to come. Please ensure that I'm sure you've registered. If you have any more questions, just like Mrs. Jennifer has already said, you can meet any of the guest speaker immediately after now. But this is what we are going to do at Accelerate. We are going to make available links where these questions you've asked or could not be answered here will be answered. So watch out for the links, and we'll see you in the next one. So an announcement to all those who are with us here for the very first time. May we invite you to join us in any of our services that we'll be holding tomorrow, Sunday. First service starts by 9:30 a.m. and ends by 11. And the second service starts at 11 a.m. and ends by 12:30. We'll be hoping to see you join us. Thank you for coming. We wish you the best. We hope this information will stir something more in you to do much more. God bless you. My name is Benjamin Ekpe, signing out of the moderation for this event. Thank you.